fun, and doing SNL, you have to do it so you don't have time to think. So you're forced to say, look, I'll just enjoy it, go with it, and even if I make a mistake, it's okay.
At 81, Robert De Niro has seen and done it all, from The Godfather Part 2 to Taxi Driver and Raging Bull. But now, the Hollywood legend has finally broken his silence about something deeply personal. For decades, fans have watched him dominate the screen with fierce intensity. Yet behind that unshakable persona lies a man who's grown weary of the endless spotlight. Now De Niro is revealing the heartbreaking truth about why he's finally ready for it all to end. Robert De Niro has never been one for public vulnerability. For over half a century, his life has been defined by silence, mystery, and unmatched artistry.
But recently, during a rare and emotional conversation, the Oscar-winning actor opened up in a way that few expected.
With eyes heavy from years of triumph and tragedy, De Niro admitted that he's reached a point where the industry that once gave him everything now feels like a burden too heavy to carry. From his earliest days in New York City's Little Italy, Robert wasn't born into luxury or fame. His father, Robert De Niro Sr., was a gifted artist who struggled with acceptance, both for his art and his identity. His mother, Virginia Admiral, was a painter and poet who poured her life into her son's future. Growing up in a small Manhattan apartment, young Robert watched his parents separate when he was just 2 years old. That pain never left him. It became the quiet fire behind every role he ever played. By the time Mean Streets hit theaters in 1973, De Niro had already transformed into a force Hollywood had never seen. His rawness, his intensity, and his quiet power made directors fight to work with him. Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Casino, The Irishman, every performance etched deeper into the soul of American cinema. But fame, as De Niro would later admit, doesn't heal the loneliness that comes with it. "I've been surrounded by people my whole life," he once said, "and yet I've never felt more alone than when the cameras stopped rolling. That loneliness only deepened with time." 2 marriages ended in heartbreak. He lost close friends like Robin Williams and Joe Pesci withdrew from the public eye. Then, in 2018, his longtime collaboration with Martin Scorsese faced delays due to De Niro's declining health and personal struggles. And in 2023, tragedy struck again when De Niro's grandson, Leandro, passed away unexpectedly at just 19 years old. The grief broke something inside him. Friends said the actor became quieter, reflective, and withdrawn, spending hours alone, visiting art galleries that reminded him of his father. "I've seen too much," De Niro said softly in one interview. "Life has a way of taking from you what you love most." Now, at 81, De Niro is confronting mortality in a way he never allowed himself to before. His voice trembles when he speaks of legacy, not fame. He's tired of red carpets, endless interviews, and the Hollywood machine that never lets you rest. "I've given everything I have to this industry," he said. "But at some point you want peace. You want quiet. You want to stop pretending you're still invincible." Sources close to the actor say he's preparing to scale back his work permanently. Not because he's lost passion for storytelling, but because he's finally realized there's more to life than chasing the next great role. He wants to end things on his own terms, one longtime friend revealed. He's not dying. He's just done living for the spotlight. When De Niro says he wants it to end, he's not talking about life itself. He's talking about the performance. The constant need to be the legend, the icon, the unbreakable man everyone expects him to be. "I'm ready to be Robert," he said. Not De Niro, just Robert. It's a statement that sent chills through Hollywood. The quiet farewell of a man who gave the world his soul, and now simply wants it back. Robert De Niro has always been known for disappearing into his characters. The way he became Travis Bickle, Jake LaMotta, or Vito Corleone's son. Yet beneath the surface of those unforgettable performances lived a man carrying wounds deeper than any script could capture. As much as Hollywood celebrated his brilliance, few understood how much pain it cost him to maintain that image of perfection. Behind the camera, De Niro was not the tough mobster or fearless anti-hero. He was a quiet, introspective man, reserved, even shy, who rarely smiled in public but cared deeply for the people around him. Friends say he carried an emotional heaviness that came from his early life. His father, the late Robert De Niro Sr., was a deeply sensitive artist who struggled with his sexuality and never found peace in his lifetime. When he died in 1993, De Niro felt a loss he could never fully express. He worshipped his father, a family friend once revealed. But he also felt guilty, like he never told him how much he admired him while he was alive. That guilt followed him for decades and quietly shaped the man he became. In his relationships, De Niro's quiet nature sometimes turned into emotional distance. His first marriage to Diane Abbott, whom he wed in 1976, brought him 2 children, Drina and Raphael. But as his fame skyrocketed, the pressure of Hollywood and the emotional weight of his roles began to erode their connection. He loved her, a close friend recalled, but Robert was never good at showing his feelings. He buried everything inside. After their divorce in 1988, De Niro spent years in and out of love, seeking stability, but finding only more heartbreak. His second marriage to Grace Hightower seemed like a fresh start, but it too unraveled amid rumors, distance, and the constant demand of his career. In public, De Niro was stoic. In private, he was shattered. "He's one of the greatest actors alive," an insider once said, "but he doesn't know how to play himself." He spent his life hiding behind other faces, and now he's realizing he doesn't know who Robert really is. The emotional toll only deepened when tragedy struck his family. In 2023, the death of his 19-year-old grandson, Leandro De Niro Rodriguez, broke the actor's heart in ways words could never describe. Leandro, the son of De Niro's eldest daughter, Drina, died from an accidental overdose, a devastating reminder of how fragile life truly is. When news of Leandro's passing became public, De Niro released a short, deeply emotional statement. "I'm deeply distressed by the passing of my beloved grandson, Leo. We're greatly appreciative of the condolences from everyone. We ask that we be given privacy to grieve, but those close to him say the loss changed him completely. He became distant, quieter, and far more reflective. He would often speak about time, how quickly it slips away, how easily fame distracts from what truly matters. He used to talk about legacy," one insider revealed. "Now he talks about peace. He says he doesn't want to leave behind movies. He wants to leave behind kindness." For a man who spent most of his life under bright lights, De Niro is finally stepping into the shadows, not out of defeat, but out of clarity. The Hollywood legend who once defined intensity is learning to value stillness. "I've spent my whole life chasing truth through characters," he admitted. "Now I just want to live it." Even in his later years, De Niro remains sharp, working on selective projects that carry meaning rather than fame. Yet the difference now is visible. His interviews are slower, his tone softer, his words more deliberate. He's no longer interested in the applause. He's searching for something deeper, a final act of peace. Those who know him say this phase of his life isn't about quitting, it's about closure. The man who once gave everything to his art is finally giving something back to himself. And as he looks back on the chaos, the heartbreaks, and the decades of living behind masks, Robert De Niro is learning one truth every artist eventually faces. No matter how many roles you play, the hardest one is learning to be yourself. Fame is often described as a blessing. But for Robert De Niro, it became both a shield and a burden. In the golden years of Hollywood, when every film he touched turned into legend, De Niro appeared untouchable, an artist in full control of his craft. But as he would later admit in rare moments of honesty, the higher he climbed, the lonelier it became. De Niro never enjoyed the spotlight the way some of his peers did. He wasn't the kind to charm talk shows or flood headlines with personal gossip. The work, he often said, should speak for itself. But in the modern age of celebrity, where privacy is nearly impossible, even De Niro couldn't escape the noise. Every failed relationship, every public misstep, every emotional outburst became a story. He hates attention when it's not about the craft, one close friend explained. When cameras are rolling, he's alive. But when they're off, he just wants to disappear. As the years passed, disappearing became harder. Hollywood changed, fast. The quiet intensity that once defined actors like De Niro was replaced by loud personalities, endless interviews, and social media scrutiny. For a man raised on authenticity, it felt foreign, almost unbearable. Still, De Niro kept working. Films like The Irishman, Silver Linings Playbook, and Joker proved his genius hadn't faded. Yet behind every performance, there was a sense of melancholy, as if he knew these might be among his last great roles. His eyes, once filled with raw fire, now carried the weight of a man who'd seen too much of life's chaos. He began talking more openly about aging, something he had once avoided. "You don't think about it," he said quietly in an interview. "Then one day you realize there's less ahead than behind. That changes everything." The death of close friends and collaborators deepened that awareness. Martin Scorsese, his lifelong partner in cinema, once confessed that their bond had become something spiritual, built on trust, grief, and unspoken understanding. "We've been through a lot," Scorsese said. "Bob doesn't talk about it much, but he feels everything deeply. He carries it." That emotional weight began to surface publicly after his grandson Leandro's tragic passing. People noticed the change immediately. De Niro's once controlled demeanor gave way to visible sorrow. You could see it in his eyes, one insider revealed. He was heartbroken, and for the first time he didn't try to hide it. It was around this time that he began hinting at wanting it all to end. Not in despair, but in exhaustion. The relentless grind of filmmaking, the loss of friends, the never-ending expectations, it had drained him. He wasn't angry or bitter. He was simply ready to slow down, to let life breathe. "I've spent more than 50 years playing people who are broken," he said in one rare, reflective moment. "Now I just want to be whole." He moved away from Hollywood's chaos, spending more time in his private home in upstate New York, surrounded by family and art. Those who've seen him there describe a man finally at peace, tending to his garden, listening to jazz and sketching quietly like his father once did. For De Niro, this isn't retirement. It's a return to simplicity, to stillness, to himself. After decades of embodying every kind of man imaginable, he is finally learning what it means to just be Robert. As he once told a friend over coffee, "The applause is nice, but it fades. What matters is what's left when the curtain falls, who you really are. And maybe, just maybe, that's what he's been searching for all along." As Robert De Niro enters the twilight of his extraordinary career, there's a quiet resignation in his voice, not of defeat, but of acceptance. He's no longer the fiery young man from Mean Streets or the unpredictable powerhouse of Raging Bull. The once restless artist has become something softer, more contemplative. He spent his entire life bringing truth to fiction, and now, at last, he's living that truth himself. The world sees De Niro as an icon, but those closest to him describe a man who rarely looks back. "He's not sentimental," Martin Scorsese once said, "but when he does reflect, it's deep. It comes from the soul." And lately, De Niro has been reflecting more than ever. In interviews, he's spoken about time, how it slips away quietly while you're too busy chasing perfection. "When you're young," he said, "you think the work will last forever. But then you realize nothing does. Not even you." His final years on screen have been marked by performances that feel almost autobiographical. In The Irishman, when his character sits alone, haunted by everything he's done and everything he's lost, it's hard not to see the parallels. That look, that silence, feels like De Niro himself saying goodbye. Not just to a character, but to an era. Friends say he's been selective with roles now, only choosing those that say something real. The money and fame don't matter. They never did. What matters is legacy. He wants to leave behind something honest, something that reminds people of the power of raw, human storytelling. But there's another reason behind his growing desire to step back. In recent years, life off-screen has tested him in ways no film ever could. The loss of loved ones, health battles, and the challenges of fatherhood in his later years have all taken their toll. "You start thinking about what's left undone," De Niro admitted quietly, "and you want to make peace with it." He spends most of his time now surrounded by his children, often seen walking through Central Park or visiting art galleries, a quiet nod to his father's influence. He's found peace in small things, a longtime friend shared. He's learned that real success isn't the applause, it's the moments no one else sees. In private conversations, De Niro has expressed a yearning for the kind of silence that once terrified him. The constant pressure of Hollywood, the noise, the judgment, the scrutiny, no longer appeals. "I've done my part," he told one interviewer. "Now I just want to live." There are whispers that Wise Guys or his next Scorsese collaboration might be his swan song. If so, it would be fitting, a full-circle moment for the man who helped redefine American cinema. But even if he never acts again, his legacy is already carved into the heart of film history. From Travis Bickle to Jake LaMotta, from Vito Corleone to Frank Sheeran, he has lived 1,000 lives so that the rest of us could feel something real. And yet, when asked how he wants to be remembered, De Niro's answer was disarmingly simple: as someone who cared about the work and tried to do it right. It's a line that captures everything about him: the precision, the humility, the quiet fire. Robert De Niro never chased fame. He chased truth. And now, as he prepares to step away, he leaves behind not just a filmography, but a mirror. One that reflects the beauty, pain, and fragility of what it means to be human. When the curtain finally falls, the applause will echo long after he's gone. But somewhere in the stillness, Robert De Niro will be smiling, not as a legend, but as a man who finally found peace in letting go.